I poured my heart and soul into my studies, hoping to get into Peking University or Tsinghua University. But on the very day of the college entrance exam, Grandma Evelyn hid my admission ticket, preventing me from taking the test. Afterwards, she calmly said, "Getting into Tsinghua or Peking has no future. Going to a vocational college is more useful." Later, I entered the entertainment industry, becoming a youth ambassador. When reporters interviewed Grandma Evelyn, she deliberately said, "That girl, she smokes and drinks. Who knows if she's into gambling or drugs?" The company immediately sued me for breach of contract. I had to pay tens of millions in compensation. Filled with anger and stress, I fell ill and was hospitalized. My parents worriedly warned Grandma Evelyn not to provoke me further, but she still intentionally came to my bedside, spewing out all sorts of cruel words and even calling it stimulus therapy. I was pushed to the brink of suicide, but when I opened my eyes, I found myself back one day before the college entrance exam. "Ilara, have you taken your admission ticket yet?" A familiar voice echoed, and the pain and sorrow within me suddenly vanished. I opened my eyes, vaguely seeing Mom rummaging through a drawer, muttering, "That's strange, I clearly left it here. The college entrance exam is tomorrow. Don't tell me it's lost." This scene had happened 3 years ago, sending shivers down my spine. What was happening? Hadn't I died in despair, pushed to suicide by Grandma Evelyn, or had I been reborn? As if to confirm my thoughts, the very next second, Grandma Evelyn walked out of her room with a triumphant look. Seeing Mom frantically searching for the admission ticket, she flashed a smug smile. Thinking of everything she had done in my previous life, I could barely suppress the hatred in my heart. Grandma Evelyn always liked to go against others' wishes, especially mine. In my previous life, at this exact time, she also secretly hid my admission ticket. Even though I was almost certain to get into my dream university, she used this method to make me miss the college entrance exam right before my eyes. After returning home in despair, I discovered that she hadn't just hidden it, but had also torn the admission ticket to shreds and then concealed it. Faced with my crumbling questions and my parents' reproaches, she calmly said, "You don't understand my good intentions. Even if you get into Tsinghua or Peking, you're not guaranteed a stable job. Vocational college is more useful. You'll probably get a job right away. I'm more experienced than you. Listening to me is the right thing to do. Having a skill in hand is the best." Afterward, I studied for another year, got into a different university, and entered the entertainment industry. I became a youth ambassador, a source of pride for my neighbors. When the press came to interview, Grandma Evelyn scoffed. "Goody two-shoes? Being a top student is just an act. She might look bright on the outside, but my granddaughter smokes and drinks all the time. With her personality, who knows if she's involved in gambling or dating multiple people?" Her words became an excuse for anti-fans to attack me. I was smeared all over the internet. The company sued me for breach of contract, and a colossal compensation hung over me. I fell ill from the pressure and was hospitalized. My parents were beside themselves with worry, instructing Grandma Evelyn not to visit me. She nodded in agreement, but then intentionally rushed to my hospital room to taunt me. Young people nowadays are so weak. A little something, and it's depression, mental illness, all sorts of things. To me, it's all an act. Honestly, you're too idle, even lying in a hospital bed. Such a waste of money. I was exhausted, both physically and mentally, 2 days to retort. Using the excuse of taking a shower, I quietly left the room. Seeing my lack of response, Grandma Evelyn grew bolder, picking apart every one of my strengths and weaknesses from childhood, adding salt to the wound to defame me. My mood plummeted uncontrollably. Finally, I cut my wrists to commit suicide. When the doctors rushed in to save me, Grandma Evelyn even blocked them, sneering, "No need to save her. She's just putting on a show." I didn't make it. Facing my parents, who were crying uncontrollably from grief, Grandma Evelyn feigned regret. That was my stimulus therapy. The doctor even said it was effective. What a pity, I won't have the chance to try it again. Reborn, I looked at Grandma Evelyn, who was exactly as she had been in my previous life. I unclenched my tightly fisted hands and immediately rushed to her room. Based on my memories from the previous life, I went straight to the trash can on the table, which hadn't been emptied for over half a month. Tossing everything out, I dumped all the foul-smelling garbage onto the floor. At the bottom of the can, covered in dirty water and food scraps, were the shredded pieces of my admission ticket. Mom reacted quickly, stepping forward to examine them closely. The next second, she shrieked, "What is this? You tore up Alara's admission ticket and threw it in the trash." From the moment I rushed in, Grandma Evelyn instinctively tried to stop me. Exposed, her face darkened. Not only was she not ashamed, but she became angry. "You're too brazen. How dare a daughter-in-law yell at her mother-in-law like that? So uneducated." Even though Mom was oppressed by Grandma Evelyn's claims of filial piety, she still tried to protect me and question her. But I couldn't hold back anymore. I slammed the trash can onto the floor, pointed at the shredded papers, and yelled until my voice was hoarse. "Why did you do this to me?" The mournful, cracking cry echoed throughout the house, leaving me stunned, while Mom cried silently. Grandma Evelyn was startled by my violent reaction, but immediately pointed at me, sneering contemptuously. "Look at you, just like your mother. I did it for your own good." She rolled her eyes, annoyed that I wasn't grateful, and brought up her old arguments from the previous life. "Even if you get into a prestigious university, you'll just be working for someone else. Why not follow your cousin Leo and go straight to vocational school? He's making $5,000 a month now." Mentioning Leo, Grandma Evelyn's eyes lit up, beaming with pride over her golden grandson. I laughed coldly, mockingly. "Oh, thank you, Grandma. So you're afraid I'll be the top student and won't be able to get into university? You want me to be like Leo, who's 20 years old and still can't do addition and subtraction within 100, submits blank papers for every test, went to vocational school, and graduated into a factory." Grandma Evelyn still puffed out her chest proudly. "That's a stable job, many people want it but can't get it." Looking at the mess on the floor, she raised an eyebrow and smiled faintly. "But it looks like even a vocational college wouldn't accept you now." I nodded. "You're absolutely right. So how about you teach me how to tighten screws now?" With that, I grabbed Grandma Evelyn's arm and twisted it hard. She immediately shrieked as if being butchered, pointing at me and cursing wildly. I pretended not to hear and continued to twist her other arm. Then, I casually picked up the old fly swatter she had used since I was a child. "Oh, reflexes and eyesight are very important, Grandma. How about we practice a bit?" I struck quickly, precisely, and mercilessly, each blow landing on her. Not bad, I seemed to be quite nimble. That temporarily relieved some of my anger. I broke the handle of the fly swatter, holding the spiky end towards Grandma Evelyn, who was lunging to hit me. But just then, a voice rang out along with the sound of the fly swatter handle falling to the ground. "Ilara, how dare you lay a hand on Grandma Evelyn?" Seeing her youngest son, whom she loved most, appear to defend her, the very person who had been aggressive just a moment ago, as if she wanted to devour me alive, Grandma Evelyn's expression immediately changed. She put on a wronged face, as if she had suffered the greatest injustice in the world, and rushed over, weeping and complaining. But when Mom recounted how she had secretly hidden and torn up my admission ticket, a flicker of schadenfreude appeared in the eyes of Uncle Thomas's family. Leo even sneered, unable to restrain himself, and feigned a scolding tone. "Sister, you're being too much. Grandma Evelyn did all that for your own good. You truly don't know how to appreciate blessings." I looked at him coldly, my lips curling in a sarcastic smile. "Then keep this blessing for yourself, shall we? Do you want it?" Just then, Dad also came home. After Mom briefly recounted the entire incident, he hesitated for a long time but finally stood in front of me, despite the disapproving stares from Grandma Evelyn and Uncle Thomas's family. "This can't be blamed on Alara's anger. The college entrance exam is so important, how could Mother?" Before he could finish, Uncle Thomas laughed mockingly, interrupting him. "Oh, brother, stop it. Everyone used to praise you as the most filial son in the family. I never thought you'd turn into a white-eyed wolf now that you have a wife and children." Grandma Evelyn also snorted, glancing at Mom and me with contempt. But when she turned to Uncle Thomas, her face immediately transformed into a kind, warm smile. "Oh, my second son, why are you here today? To visit your mother." She beamed, her eyes crinkling, and happily stepped forward, intending to take the package from Aunt Sarah's hand, completely devoid of the sharp, bitter mother-in-law demeanor she had with Mom. However, Aunt Sarah recoiled in disgust, avoiding her and throwing the package directly to the ground, revealing piles of fabric and cotton inside. Mom's son kept praising her for making beautiful quilts, so I brought these over. Go, 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 stand a little further. What's that smell on you? It's awfully pungent." Uncle Thomas pretended to be deaf, pushing the package towards Grandma Evelyn's feet and saying casually, "Mom, you know my wife isn't good at sewing, so I'm entrusting this to you, okay? Please make it quickly. I'll pick it up the day after tomorrow." With that, Uncle Thomas led his wife and son away. Grandma Evelyn hurriedly chased after them, solicitously stuffing a few hundred yuan into Leo's pocket, then regretfully stood at the door, watching the three of them until they disappeared around the corner. Only then did she reluctantly turn around, look at the fabric on the ground, and casually point at me. "Anyway, you won't be going to school anymore. Stay home these 2 days and sew all of this." I laughed coldly, grabbing a handful of cotton and throwing it directly into her face. Grandma Evelyn, who had been muttering, abruptly fell silent, spitting furiously, trying to get rid of the cotton she had accidentally swallowed. "Are you crazy? Tooey, tooey, tooey," I exclaimed in feigned surprise. "Grandma Evelyn, why did you get the cotton dirty like this? Uncle Thomas will come to pick it up the day after tomorrow." She froze, then immediately squatted down, picking up the scattered cotton, muttering curses as she gathered it and took it back to her room. I still missed the college entrance exam and didn't have time to reapply for my admission ticket. So, I had to rely on my experience from my previous life to enter the entertainment industry. Just like before, despite missing the opportunity for university, I maintained my image as a studious academic and was once again chosen as a youth ambassador. That evening, the whole family sat in the living room, watching a recorded program featuring me. When I heard my title being announced, Grandma Evelyn casually spat out a melon seed shell and snorted loudly. My parents, on the other hand, held me, asking with concern, "Tomorrow, reporters will be interviewing you. What's the best way to answer?" Grandma Evelyn, sitting nearby, also pricked up her ears, giving me a guilty glance. When I caught her eye, she awkwardly chuckled, her voice carrying a subtle hint of contempt. "Are there really several reporters coming to interview at home?" I nodded, feigning worry. "Yes, I'm so nervous. It was so hard to get this good career prospect. I just hope no trouble happens. It's very easy to be attacked by netizens now." Seeing Grandma Evelyn's shifty eyes, I smiled coldly inwardly. The next day, during the interview, my parents struggled to answer a series of difficult questions, finally exhaling with relief. But just then, Grandma Evelyn emerged from nowhere. Seeing a microphone brought to her mouth, she immediately flashed a fawning smile, intending to badmouth me. I seized the moment, rushing forward to hug her legs tightly, crying choked up. "Grandma Evelyn, please, don't scold me anymore. It was my fault for getting angry when you shredded my admission ticket." Of course, I didn't actually bang my head on the ground. My parents rushed to help me up. With just that one sentence, all the cameras immediately turned to me. A barrage of microphones pushed forward, and the reporters asked in unison, "Can you explain what this is about?" I was now a famous artist, also bearing the important responsibility of being a youth ambassador. My every move was closely scrutinized by the public. Recalling the tragic end of my previous life, I subtly bowed my head, blinked, and 2 tears immediately rolled down in front of the cameras. I continued to play the role of a weak, wronged person, my face full of forbearance. Grandma Evelyn, seeing that no one was paying attention to her, casually grabbed a microphone and pointed straight at me, beginning to scold with an indignant expression. That contrasted sharply with my tense demeanor, not daring to shed another tear. Anyone could tell who was being unreasonable. "What nonsense are you talking about? Grandma did that for your own good." She repeated her mantra about vocational college being better. Seeing all the cameras pointed at her, she seized the opportunity to proudly introduce herself. A reporter, following protocol, asked, "In your eyes, what kind of person is your granddaughter, Alara?" My parents, fearing she would use the opportunity to cause trouble, hurriedly interjected with a couple of compliments about me, but she immediately pushed them away roughly. "Stop it! I can't deceive the audience with you." She turned to me, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "You don't know, my granddaughter is very naughty. She dated indiscriminately for 3 years of high school, changing boyfriends dozens of times. She pretends to be well-behaved on the outside, but I'm her grandmother, don't I know her?" Seeing Grandma Evelyn about to fabricate lies to defame me, I immediately took a step forward and bowed to the cameras. When I looked up, there were tears on my face. "I apologize, everyone. Perhaps, as Grandma Evelyn says, a girl like me doesn't deserve to be a youth ambassador." Grandma Evelyn, hearing that I might lose my title, was so overjoyed that she forgot to retort. She gleefully said, "It's good that you know." "Reporters, I have a grandson who is younger, handsomer, and more dashing than Alara. He'd be a more suitable ambassador." The reporters exchanged glances, trying to force a smile to diffuse the situation. But Grandma Evelyn was utterly smug. She took out her phone and held up a photo of Leo in front of the cameras. "Look, doesn't he look like Chris Wu? He's truly my precious grandson." After showing off Leo's good looks, Grandma Evelyn even video called him. After several hang-ups, she didn't give up and kept calling. Finally, after a long ring, the camera on the other end flickered a few times, revealing Leo with messy hair and a sleepy expression. Before Grandma Evelyn could finish saying, "Precious grandson, Grandma has something to tell you," Leo's lazy, irritated voice rang out. "So annoying. The factory rarely gives me a day off, and I can't even get a peaceful sleep. Are you sick, Grandma?" Grandma Evelyn hurriedly explained, Sorry, Grandma has something important to say." But Leo, half asleep, didn't bother to listen, irritably muttering, "This old woman is so bothersome," then hung up. Grandma Evelyn stared blankly at the screen, then frantically called again, but received a red notification. "User has blocked communication." Leo had blocked Grandma Evelyn's number. Her face distorted, her anger having nowhere to vent. She pushed the cameras away and quickly tried to cover up. Let's see. He must still be asleep. Or how about we go to his house and find him? But no one paid attention to her. Grandma Evelyn had no idea that this interview was being broadcast live, and I had secretly opened a live stream. Looking at the comments flashing by like lightning, I came to hear Alara's inspiring story, not about that grandma and grandson. "Thank you, Grandma Evelyn, you're just like my grandma, favoring boys over girls and not admitting it. Going to work is tiring enough. I came here to relax, and now I'm furious seeing this. The college entrance exam is so important, and Grandma Evelyn intentionally sabotaged it, and now she's defaming her own granddaughter. So unreasonable." The more Grandma Evelyn badmouthed me, the more support I received. Because of a grandmother who favored boys over girls and ruined my future, I suddenly became even more famous. Afterward, I received an audition invitation for a major film. Grandma Evelyn, seeing that not only had my career not been ruined, but I had turned misfortune into fortune, was so furious she stomped her feet and beat her chest. Grandma Evelyn pulled another trick. That day, I had just changed my clothes, preparing to go out for the audition, but when I turned the doorknob, I found the door locked from the outside. I knocked, frowning, and asked, "Grandma Evelyn, why did you lock the door?" My parents weren't home from work yet. Only Grandma Evelyn was in the house. There was no need to think, it had to be her. Indeed, her feigned sigh echoed from outside. "Ilara, you are inherently stubborn. I can't watch you continue to make mistakes." It sounded like she was worried about me, like a responsible elder, but her voice was filled with undisguised joy and glee. I gave a cold chuckle. She must have secretly overheard last night when I shared the good news with Mom and Dad. That's why she was deliberately hindering me now. She simply couldn't stand it if she didn't interfere with whatever I wanted to do. Seeing time ticking by quickly and the appointment time approaching with the door still locked, my heart couldn't help but burn with anger. Outside, Grandma Evelyn was happier than ever, her steps light, humming a tune, and turning on the TV to watch a movie. I smiled coldly, my eyes scanning the room. An iron chair placed by the table immediately caught my attention. The next second, asterisk thump, the leg of the chair slammed hard against the double-layered wooden door, piercing straight through the outer layer. Grandma Evelyn, sitting on the sofa, was caught off guard by the loud noise and fell onto the floor in a fright. I maintained a calm expression, raised the chair high, and continued, asterisk thump, thump, thump. In just a few blows, half the door was shattered under Grandma Evelyn's terrified gaze. I threw the bent chair violently in front of her. Wood splinters flew, dusting her face. Grandma Evelyn swallowed, a little scared by my current state, but still tried to maintain the dignity of an elder, outwardly stern but inwardly weak. "What kind of stunt are you pulling? I only locked the door. Are you trying to lay hands on your grandmother?" I scoffed, sharply pulling off a bent chair leg from the iron frame and playing with it in my hand. Hearing her words, I didn't retort, only put on a pitiful act, gently poking her thigh with the chair leg. Before Grandma Evelyn could scream, I feigned a sobbing cry, rather perfunctorily. As I cried, I continuously punched her leg with my fist. "Grandma, why do you misunderstand me? I just wanted to show you my strength. See, I'm very strong. I can easily carry many bags." "I'm strong, Grandma. Good Grandma. Grandma who loves me. Look, my little hand is punching your chest right now." Grandma Evelyn was so battered by me that she was incoherent, only able to stare at me with furious, wide eyes. I deliberately lowered my voice, pretending to be gentle. Oh, I know, Grandma, you only want what's best for me. After all, I was taught to develop comprehensively, both physically, artistically, and through labor. Not like Leo, who was expelled from primary school and everyone was afraid to play with. Compared to him, I have too many fun activities. You're definitely just afraid that I'll get too caught up in fun and be tempted by the entertainment industry, right? After saying that, I changed my tone and laughed coldly. But are you planning for me to give this opportunity to Leo? Don't dream about it. He's so excellent, you just keep him tightly in your heart and be proud of him, okay? With that, I turned and left without looking back. Behind me, Grandma Evelyn's angry, trembling voice echoed. Truly ungrateful. Not listening to elders only brings harm. In this day and age, girls going out to earn money is truly chaotic. But her only reply was the echo of her own voice. Successful audition. The audition went smoothly. Based on my experience from my previous life, I won the role as expected. That evening, Mom made a table full of delicious food to celebrate, and the whole family was filled with happy chatter and laughter. Grandma Evelyn ate more than half a plate of lobster, then picked out the best dishes and put them in a lunch box to save for later, before snorting and interjecting, "It's just a small role that appears for a few minutes. Do you need to be this happy?" Mom, who had been laughing happily, immediately frowned upon hearing this. This time, Mom rarely retorted with a sarcastic tone. "Are you suggesting Alara should follow your advice, abandon her excellent academic record to go to vocational college, then earn a few million a month and waste her entire life?" Grandma Evelyn had never heard Mom talk to her like this. Her face darkened, and with a clang, she slammed her chopsticks onto the table. As always, she was about to use her authority as an elder to pressure them, but this time, Dad spoke up. "Mother, Uncle Thomas said before that the two families would take turns caring for you, but I was worried they wouldn't take good care of you, so I always kept you here. But now you can't get along with my wife and child, so why don't you move to Uncle Thomas's house?" After saying this, Dad tried pushing the newly repaired door. Seeing that it was stable, he wiped his sweat and turned to look at Grandma Evelyn. Their eyes met. Grandma Evelyn was stunned. Not just her. Mom and I were also very surprised. Dad had always been known as a filial son, respecting and treating Grandma Evelyn well since childhood. When Grandpa was alive, seeing Uncle Thomas as incompetent while Dad was stable and filial, Grandpa decided to leave most of his assets to Dad. At that time, Grandma Evelyn, with tears in her eyes, nodded in agreement. But as soon as Grandpa passed away, she, without hesitation, transferred all the assets to Uncle Thomas. Relatives and family members all questioned her reasons. She waved her hand proudly, saying, "That old man decided everything my whole life. Now it's finally my turn to be in charge. Why should I still listen to him? Besides, it's precisely because my eldest son is filial that I didn't leave him a penny. Whether I give him anything or not, he'll treat me just as well." Grandma Evelyn was extremely biased, favoring boys over girls, and only spoiled her youngest son. Dad was young then, deeply hurt, but always longed for his mother's love. However, every time he hoped, he was disappointed. The more Dad tolerated, the more Grandma Evelyn oppressed him, using filial piety to suppress him for years. My father had never dared to say a harsh word to her, except for one single time, the day I was born. When she found out I was a girl, Grandma Evelyn wanted to give me away, but Dad firmly refused. Other than that, for over 20 years, he had never dared to argue with her. Yet, even though Dad was a good person and Uncle Thomas was cunning, Grandma Evelyn still favored Uncle Thomas without hesitation. Even Aunt Sarah didn't respect her husband, but Grandma Evelyn still wholeheartedly sided with Uncle Thomas's family. That's why that year, when she was seriously ill and needed care, she chose Dad. Now, her health was better, only occasionally relapsing with old ailments. Uncle Thomas's family initially pretended they would take turns caring for her, but everyone knew no one on that side wanted to take her in, and Grandma Evelyn knew that better than anyone. The house fell silent for a long time. Finally, Grandma Evelyn's dry voice rang out. "Mid-Autumn Festival is in a few days. How can you kick your mother out now?" It was rare to see Dad's face so cold, and Grandma Evelyn rarely softened her tone. "We're a happy and harmonious family of 4. Let's not talk about this again, okay?" Dad still maintained a cold expression. Grandma Evelyn finally quieted down for a while. During that time, I successfully landed a role in a film and gradually gained a certain fan base. The company happily signed a long-term contract with me, with excellent benefits, but one condition: no dating. After calling my manager to discuss work, I was about to go to bed when I accidentally caught sight of Grandma Evelyn secretly sneaking into my room. I grew wary, thinking she was up to something again. But for the next few days, Grandma Evelyn made no moves. I gradually relaxed my guard, thinking she had truly settled down. But it turned out she was preparing for a big play. Being followed. That day, I went to the company for a training class. After class, I couldn't get a taxi home, so I walked part of the way. But as I neared home, I felt footsteps following behind me. My heart tightened and I quickly picked up my pace, simultaneously texting Dad, "Dad, someone's following me. Come pick me up." Sure enough, just a few minutes later, the footsteps grew closer. I had only run a short distance when an unfamiliar man suddenly chased after me, blocking my path. He flashed a sinister smile, looking me up and down with malicious intent. I glared, demanding, "Who are you? Why are you following me?" The man suddenly looked annoyed, muttering, "What are you pretending for? Leo said you were very interested in me. Meeting me in person, aren't you practically drooling with excitement?" I was bewildered, but a vague suspicion flickered in my mind. Seeing him close in, even saying he wanted to take me home tonight, I immediately prepared to fight back. "Dad." A familiar figure rushed forward. My dad had arrived just in time. Wham! A powerful kick sent the man flying to the ground. I quickly took out my phone and called the police. The man panicked, kneeling and pleading, "I just got out of prison not long ago. It was so hard to find this job. I don't want to go back there again. Please let me go." My dad said coldly, "Why were you following my daughter?" The man stared at Dad, seemingly recognizing a resemblance between the two. He hesitated for a moment, then confessed everything. It turned out he had just been released from prison and was working in the same factory as Leo. The two, being birds of a feather, quickly became close. The other day, while drinking, he confided that he was single and asked Leo to introduce him to a girlfriend. Leo thumped his chest, promising to help him find a girlfriend within the factory. But the next morning, sober, Leo felt awkward. There were many girls in the factory, but none of them paid any attention to the man. After much thought, Leo decided to ask Grandma Evelyn for help. Everything became clear. It turned out Grandma Evelyn had overheard me mentioning that I wasn't allowed to date due to company regulations. That's when she came up with the idea of setting me up with this man. She even revealed my schedule and my route home so he could conveniently intercept and follow me. The man looked at me innocently, sighing, "That's all I knew. I truly didn't know you wouldn't agree." My dad's face turned purple with rage. He tightly gripped my hand and angrily led me straight home. Confrontation with Grandma Evelyn. Arriving home, Grandma Evelyn was happily video calling Leo. Seeing me appear, both were startled and asked in unison, "Why are you home?" My dad slammed the table in anger. "If my daughter doesn't come home, where should she go? Follow that terrible man you two introduced?" Hearing this, Grandma Evelyn and Leo's faces turned pale. On the other side of the screen, Leo immediately hung up, leaving Grandma Evelyn to face Dad's fury. Grandma Evelyn guiltily lowered her head, still trying to play innocent. "What are you saying? Mother doesn't understand." I didn't say much. I played the audio recording. When the man's voice echoed, Grandma Evelyn's face turned ashen and cold sweat broke out. "It's come to this and you're still defending yourself?" My dad looked at Grandma Evelyn with disappointment and coldness, but she stubbornly argued, "I did it for your own good. You're so grown up and still don't have a partner." "I just want you to find a good match early?" I laughed in anger. "You clearly just wanted to ruin me and you still won't admit it." Grandma Evelyn frantically waved her hands, quickly denying, No, you've misunderstood me. I thought you two were a good match, so I wanted to set you up. I want grandchildren too. What's so scary about your company? That boy is handsome and kind. It would be a pity to miss out." My dad clenched his teeth and said angrily, "So you intentionally revealed Alara's itinerary to him?" Then he stared at Grandma Evelyn, his eyes sharp. "If the company contract didn't forbid dating, you probably wouldn't even bother to find just anyone to pair her up with, would you? After all, you never cared about us anyway." Dad smiled bitterly. Before Grandma Evelyn could retort, he immediately called Uncle Thomas. "Hello, Uncle Thomas, get ready. Tomorrow, I'm bringing Mother to your house." To everyone's surprise, Uncle Thomas happily agreed right away. Grandma Evelyn initially intended to snatch the phone to stop Dad, but when she heard Uncle Thomas agree, she immediately regained her confidence, a smug smile spreading across her face. "I told you, you're not as good as my second son. It's only been a few years and you're already trying to kick your own mother out of the house. Luckily, I still have my filial second son. From now on, even if you beg me, I won't come back to this house." With that, Grandma Evelyn tossed her chin, spat on the ground, and happily bounced into her room to pack her belongings. Dad and I looked at each other. Both of us saw disappointment in the other's eyes, but also a sense of liberation. At least from now on, the house would be more peaceful. The next morning, Grandma Evelyn happily got into the car to Uncle Thomas's house. But less than a month later, she returned haggard, her hair a messy bird's nest, her face sallow and looking utterly worn out. I was quite surprised. While I was still stunned, Grandma Evelyn pushed me aside and aggressively stormed into the house. After devouring half a plate of fruit, she dusted off her clothes and slumped onto the sofa. I slowly approached, leaned close to her ear, and slowly asked, "Didn't you say you wouldn't come back even if we begged you? Why are you back here?" Grandma Evelyn weakly opened her eyes. Her dark, tan skin couldn't hide the two prominent dark circles under her eyes. Hearing my question, Grandma Evelyn's face flushed red. Instinctively, she wanted to find an excuse, but she opened her mouth and couldn't say a word. Finally, she huffed angrily, "HMPH, HMPH?" I immediately understood. It turned out that at Uncle Thomas's house, she wasn't pampered. Instead, she had suffered. But how could I bear to separate Grandma Evelyn from her beloved son? I hid my mocking smile and video called Leo. Just 1 second later, the call was answered immediately. On the other end, Leo was anxiously rushing, with the sound of strong wind. It seemed he was running everywhere looking for Grandma Evelyn. "Is Grandma Evelyn at your house? Tell her to come back quickly." I haven't finished the final experiment yet. I casually turned the camera towards Grandma Evelyn just as she was turning to flee. I smiled brightly, feigning innocence. "Grandma, your precious grandson is calling you." As soon as Leo saw Grandma Evelyn, his expression immediately changed and he roared, "Didn't I tell you to drink the last bottle? Why did you pour it all out? Just a little longer and I could have gotten the bonus. Hurry up and come home. Who's going to do the housework if you abandon it?" Looking at Grandma Evelyn's pale face, I quickly understood. Recently, I had been seeing constant job advertisements for people to test experimental drugs for exorbitant salaries. Perhaps at Uncle Thomas's house, Grandma Evelyn was not only forced to do hard labor and care for their entire family, but was also being exploited to earn money. After all, she was old. No one wanted to hire her for heavy work. If she wanted to stay home and earn money, she could only be a guinea pig for drug trials. So, Uncle Thomas and Leo made Grandma Evelyn take experimental drugs to earn extra bonuses. Yet even in this situation, facing my father's disappointed and cold gaze, Grandma Evelyn still stubbornly defended herself. "I did it for your own good, didn't I? You're this old and still don't have a partner. I just want you to have a good match." I laughed in anger. "You clearly just wanted to ruin me and you still won't admit it." Grandma Evelyn frantically waved her hands, quickly denying, No, you've misunderstood me. I thought you two were a good match, so I wanted to set you up. I want grandchildren too. What's so scary about your company? That boy is handsome and kind. It would be a pity to miss out." My dad gave a cold, sarcastic laugh. "So you revealed Alara's itinerary to a stranger?" He stared at Grandma Evelyn, his voice sharp. "If the company didn't forbid her from dating, you probably wouldn't even bother to introduce her to that kind of person, would you? After all, no matter how well we treat you, you never care." With that, Dad immediately called Uncle Thomas. "Hello, Uncle Thomas. Get ready. Tomorrow, I'm bringing Mother over." To everyone's surprise, Uncle Thomas agreed immediately. Grandma Evelyn initially intended to snatch the phone to stop Dad, but when she heard Uncle Thomas agree, she immediately turned smug and laughed. "I told you so. You're not as good as my second son. It's only been a few years and you're already trying to kick your own mother out of the house. Luckily, I still have my filial second son. From now on, even if you beg me, I won't come back to this house." With that, she tipped her head, snorted, and happily bounced into her room to pack her belongings. Dad and I looked at each other. Both of us saw disappointment in the other's eyes, but also a sense of liberation. From now on, the house would finally be peaceful. Grandma Evelyn returns. The next morning, Grandma Evelyn happily got into the car to Uncle Thomas's house. But less than a month later, Grandma Evelyn returned haggard, her hair a messy bird's nest, her face pale and looking utterly worn out. I was quite surprised. While I was still stunned, Grandma Evelyn pushed me aside and aggressively stormed into the house. After devouring half a plate of fruit, She dusted off her clothes and slumped onto the sofa. I slowly approached, leaned close to her ear, and slowly asked, "Didn't you say you wouldn't come back even if we begged you? Why are you back here?" Grandma Evelyn weakly opened her eyes. The two prominent dark circles under her eyes were so obvious they couldn't be hidden. Hearing my question, Grandma Evelyn's face flushed red. Instinctively, she wanted to make excuses, but she opened her mouth and couldn't say anything. Finally, she huffed angrily, "HMPH, HMPH?" I immediately understood. It turned out that at Uncle Thomas's house, she wasn't pampered. Instead, she had suffered. But how could I bear to separate Grandma Evelyn from her beloved son? I hid my mocking smile and video called Leo. Just 1 second later, the call was answered immediately. On the other end, Leo was anxiously rushing, with the sound of strong wind. It seemed he was running everywhere looking for Grandma Evelyn. "Is Grandma Evelyn at your house? Tell her to come back quickly." I haven't finished the final experiment yet. I casually turned the camera towards Grandma Evelyn just as she was turning to flee. I smiled brightly, feigning innocence. "Grandma, your precious grandson is calling you." As soon as Leo saw Grandma Evelyn, his expression immediately changed and he roared, "Didn't I tell you to drink the last bottle? Why did you pour it all out? Just a little longer and I could have gotten the bonus. Hurry up and come home." "Who's going to do the housework if you abandon it?" It was then that I understood. Uncle Thomas's family was not only making Grandma Evelyn do housework, but also forcing her to take experimental drugs to earn extra bonuses. That's why Grandma Evelyn was so scared that she fled back here. I chuckled, but still pretended to be concerned. "Grandma, why don't you go back to your precious grandson?" Grandma Evelyn trembled, her face drained of all color. She shot up and fled to her room, slamming the door shut. But this was not the end. Grandma Evelyn still refused to give up her habit of making decisions according to her own will. Even though the doctor advised her to take medicine properly, she still arbitrarily broke the pills in half and took them, affecting the drug's effectiveness. Moreover, Aunt Sarah, while bringing her meals, secretly added more experimental drugs to her soup. Grandma Evelyn even thought Aunt Sarah had suddenly taken pity on her, so she drank it all. Not long after, Grandma Evelyn suffered severe convulsions and nearly died. The hospital tried their best to save her, but in the end, they could only declare that she didn't have much longer to live. Yet, even so, she still refused to listen to the doctors and continued to take medication incorrectly. By the time the nurse discovered her, Grandma Evelyn had passed away. The cause of death: reactions between the experimental drugs she had been taking for a long time. Uncle Thomas and Leo hadn't even had time to collect their bonus when the police arrived at their house. It turned out that recruiting people to test experimental drugs for medical examination was illegal. Uncle Thomas was arrested on the spot. Leaving the hospital, snow began to fall. White snowflakes landed on my palm, melting instantly. I looked up at the sky, then turned and strode towards the company. Before me was a brilliant future.